Nigerian billionaire businessman Femi Otedola has congratulated his bestie and chairman of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, over the commencement of his $20 billion refinery. Otedola, in a statement posted on his personal X account on Sunday, described the refinery and other projects from the group as a testament to the visionary leadership and relentless pursuit of excellence of one of Africa's finest and most dogged patriots. The chairman of Forte Oil, while speaking on his familiarity with the efforts of Dangote towards actualizing the project, said the refinery is a beacon of hope for Nigerians and the African continent. He added, and I quote, "I had a front row seat as this vision was conceptualized and took shape, and I'm familiar with the sleepless nights you have had to walk through over the last decade to bring this dream to fruition. This refinery is a beacon of hope for millions of Nigerians and Africans. It is also at the vanguard of championing environmental sustainability. With its carbon capture technologies and storage processes, it will capture up to 90% plus of the CO2 emitted and also play a significant role in reducing well-to-tank carbon emissions from crude oil maritime transportation, thereby playing its own role in helping Nigeria meet its target for net zero emissions by 2060. Now, let's go to our next story and our next guest. Consumer goods giant Procter Gamble says it plans to dissolve on-ground operations in Nigeria and turn its country activities into an import market. The chief financial officer of the group, Andre Schulten, stated this during his presentation at the Morgan Stanley Global Consumer and Retail Conference. The company explained that it is difficult to do business in Nigeria as a dollar-denominated organization and that the macroeconomic reality in Nigeria is responsible for its latest strategic decision. He further explained that the decision will help the company focus on markets that have the highest potential. The CFO explained that Nigeria is a $50 million net sales business compared to its overall portfolio, which is worth $85 billion. The company does not anticipate any material impact on the gross balance sheet from a sales or profitability standpoint. Onyekpere is a lawyer specializing in development law. He joins us now to discuss the provisions of the 2024 budget for a while and the implications of companies leaving Nigeria as it appears in droves. Thank you for joining us, Onyekpere. Good afternoon.
My pleasure.
Well, quickly, Procter Gamble has said he's leaving Nigeria because the environment is not conducive for doing business. Before now, it was GSK that said it was closing shop. Sanofi has closed shop. Boat Food has closed shop. So many other companies. Even PZ is shutting down its operations. And yet, is it not ironic that the Nigerian president has been very busy attracting investors who will come to Nigeria if the ones that are here are leaving? What do we need to do?
I'm losing.
Did you hear me?
I did not quite hear the last part, but I heard to the extent that the president is busy going around the world looking for investors, while the ones that are on ground are busy winding up and leaving. So let me take it off from there to say that it's not surprising because the macroeconomic fundamentals are not adding up. And it's quite difficult for any operator who has to import raw materials and things that he needs to produce here, looking for the dollars, okay, to continue operating in Nigeria. So I think that they looked at what will be their margins at the end of the day. If you import and somehow get foreign currency and produce in Nigeria, you may find it difficult to get your capital out, to get the dollars to repatriate. And then if somebody comes in, you do the import model, and you get goods in here, it will be easier maybe for you to get your capital back, because if somebody is making a demand from your home government, from the home factory, they are more or less paying the up front. So, and then you look at issues around security, you look at issues around inflation, the cost of funds, and a whole lot of challenges that are facing manufacturers in Nigeria. That gives you an idea why they are closing shop to leave instead of doing what we're expecting for more businesses to come into Nigeria to establish. And looking at this vis-a-vis the 2024 federal budget, there are critical headwinds and challenges because the budget as we see it cannot really scratch the surface in terms of solving the problems for investors and manufacturers who want to continue to do business or who even want to start businesses in Nigeria. What we have is a budget that will continue the norm. It will service the bureaucracy, do a lot of administrative capital, and then pay debts, pay workers their salaries, but not much will be expected of it in terms of developmental capital that will solve some of these critical challenges. And there is nothing in the immediate horizon that will help the CBN or the Nigerian economy to get more dollars or other foreign currencies to be able to meet the forex demands so that those who have to import with the foreign currency and those who need to repatriate their money will be comfortable to continue doing business in Nigeria. So that's the unfortunate scenario.
Well, some other commentators on this development have said part of the reason why foreign companies, airlines, pharmaceuticals, hospitality businesses are losing interest is because there is so much policy uncertainty in Nigeria. There is also insecurity, and also that Nigeria has become a dumping ground for all kinds of cheap goods from all parts of the world, making it unprofitable for certain categories of business to continue to produce in Nigeria. Do you agree?
Yes, very well, I agree. I see a scenario where...
Please go ahead.
I see a scenario where you look at some imported goods and compare them to the locally manufactured ones. Somehow you may see that the quality, there may not be so much in terms of quality, but even the ones made here become more expensive. And once they are more expensive, then what's the incentive for you to continue manufacturing if you could do it in your country, bringing it back here cheaper? And so that is the challenge. And like you talked about policy uncertainty, some of the policies you've had in the previous administration may not likely continue now. And manufacturers or businesses need some level of certainty to be able to plan ahead. Even the inflation alone, you are buying something today at X, tomorrow it becomes Y. It becomes extremely difficult for you to plan in terms of your fundamentals, the profit you will make, and generally even how you manage your staff and other inputs or consumables you need to continue producing. So I am not blaming anybody, but what I think should happen is that the leadership of Nigeria, the president, the vice president, the ministers should stay more at home, have more meetings, articulate more ways of responding to these challenges. It's not a question of telling those who are outside to come in when those who are inside are leaving, because those who are outside, when they hear the story of those about to leave, they will likely ask them, what is it that is making you to leave? And when they hear the full story of what is making them to leave, they will not likely come in. Sit back a little in the country, do strategic meetings, and respond to some of these challenges. Let us at least keep those who are here while we're expecting new ones to come in, because once the existing ones leave, it will be difficult for the new ones to come in.
Well, let me ask you, in the renewed hope agenda by the President Tinubu, attracting business, making Nigeria a friendly destination for investment is one of the things he talks about. And I guess it's on account of that he's been talking about, oh, come and invest in Nigeria is the last frontier. What in specific terms do you think this government, the Tinubu administration, needs to do that could turn the needle positively? Hello, did you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I had to an extent. Now, what they need to do, for instance, we are discussing insecurity. you need to actually be the commander-in-chief in terms of sitting down with the chief security officers, whether it's the Navy or the Air Force, everything, and helping them to strategize so that the so much talk about insecurity will be reduced to a bare minimum. And when you are looking at the policies, if you want to introduce any new policies, look at what Nigeria has been doing over the past 6, 7, 8 years. See how your new policy aligns with what is already being done or how it improves it. Because no one expects a new government to worsen their situation instead of improving on it, because the promise is to improve. But if all you get is now about worsening the already existing situation, that is why people are voting with their feet. And like I did say, this dollar crunch or this foreign exchange crunch is not beyond what can be solved by the administration. For instance, the easiest way for us to raise foreign exchange is through the oil and gas industry. Yes, we are talking of diversification. Why don't we concentrate a bit? Because if you look at DEMTEF, it talked about the reasons why it is difficult to increase oil production. They talked about insecurity, they talked about oil theft, they talked about pipeline vandalization, and they talked about the fact that we have not been investing in the oil industry for some time, some form of lack of investment over time. Now, pipeline vandalization, stealing of oil are things that if we have the strong political will, we can solve today. Then the investment angle of it, we can begin to strategize. NNPC is now, so to say, a private limited liability company, which can go for an initial public offer and which can go for securitization of its assets to raise money. And in the process, there will be a lot of reforms, governance reforms that will introduce more transparency and accountability and value for money in that particular company that will now make those investors to bring in their money. So I am saying that a lot can be done. And these things they call constraints are easily overcomable if the right political will is there.
Well, on that note, I would like to thank you very much, Onyekpere, for joining us on This Day Live, the Sunday Talk Show. Thank you very much indeed.